Hey everybody, good morning. It is time for another collab video. This one is hosted by the marvelous Kristi from Planning Us Healthy. She and also the other channels that are participating in this collaboration are going to be listed below in the description box. So if you would, go over and check them out and say hello. And thank you so much for coming over. If you came over from another channel, I'm welcome. My name is Kat, and I follow the iTrack Bites form of Weight Watchers now, and long story, but I was doing the Smart Points, and now I've got my tracker set at freestyle, so I'll explain that in another video. But anyway, so let's get right to this collab. I want to explain the couple of recipes that I chose. One of them is kind of like a, why didn't I think of that recipe? I got it from some friends that had invited us over a long time ago for a cookout. And they said, well, come on over. We're going to have some chicken quesadillas, but we're going to grill them. And I had never grilled a quesadilla on the grill before. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I mean, okay. So we went over to their house. And one thing that really stood out to me was the fact that they grilled them with avocado inside. And I have never liked cooked avocado, but I felt like it kind of changes the flavor for me, and it kind of bothers me. But it's really actually quite good and very delicious in this recipe. So don't be afraid of that if you don't like cooked avocado. This is very, very good. And so one of the big things, another tip that I need to pass on is that now I went ahead and cooked my chicken meat before I started, right? And I made it like a fajita meat, and because I wanted a lot of flavor, so I wanted to cook it with the onions and peppers. But you could take pre-cooked chicken and it would make it a lot quicker. If you use like a Tyson Ready Grilled, or my favorite is this John Soul's Food grilled chicken. And that, it's already cooked. Just throw that in the pan with some onions and peppers. You really want to cook the onions and peppers first so that they're a little tenderized, because you're going to more or less warm these things on the grill and give it the grilled flavor. You're not looking for the grill to actually cook them. But anyway, it adds a marvelous, marvelous flavor to these quesadillas. So anyway, I am also using a mixture of cheeses, because you may use the fat-free cheese to bring down your points, but my husband chooses to use real cheese, and so I'm going to be putting real cheese in his. And then also you have to realize that I'm going to be using Joseph's lavash bread for this, which is only like 1 point for a half. And so if you're using a low point wrap or something like that to make these quesadillas, and you're using 0 point on freestyle chicken breast, you might as well count some points for a good cheese on it, since it's a quesadilla. So that to me is worth it. I'm not putting any other sauce in it. So, but you can kind of play with this recipe. Add some salsa, add some beans, you know what I mean? And gussy it up in a few different ways. Put in some tomatoes, which I held back on the tomatoes because I didn't want it soggy. But you can play with it. And so it's a pretty quick recipe, but it's very impressive in flavor. The second recipe is a corn fritter that I found on Pinterest, and I'm going to put the link to that below. It was very simple. Usually with corn fritters, I think Weight Watchers has a corn fritter which you use eggs in. This one you do not use eggs in. They are absolutely delicious. The key to the fritter is grilling the corn before you use it. And then a quick tip to that is you can go to Trader Joe's and buy a bag of frozen grilled corn. Have it ready. So you're going to need 2 cups of it. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started, and I'll show you the recipes. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so first off, I have my bell pepper chopped. I'm going to chop up half of an onion as well. I'm going to make my own chicken fajita strips here, so I'm using half of a packet of the fajita seasoning mix and 1 large chicken breast cut up. So let's get this in on the pan. And first I'm going to add in, I'm using about a teaspoon of olive oil, and I'm just going to kind of like tenderize them. I want the onions to be translucent, and I want the peppers to be a little sweeter. as you cook, they get a little sweeter. All right, I added the chicken and I cooked it. For a while I covered it, and look how gorgeous they came out. So I'm going to be using one of these lavash bread. Actually, a half of it. I'm going to use some of the fat-free cheese in mine. My hubby's going to be using some of this raw milk cheddar in his, and I'm only using a little bit of avocado in each one. And it's very, very simple to put together. So I just layered everything in there. And remember, everything that's needing to be cooked is already cooked in there. I'm just melting and warming everything on the grill, and the grill is going to give it that nice smoky flavor, and it's just going to pull it all together. So I'm going to flatten these out. All right, and then one by one, very carefully, I'm just going to lay them here on the grill and press them so that the cheese in them will melt, and the cheese is just going to get all gooey over everything that's inside. And then I'll turn them, and these are going to get nice and crispy as well on the outside. All right, next I'm going to start off by roasting my own corn, and I'm just going to turn them for a few minutes on each side. Look at how beautiful they look. These are just 2 of them, and I'm just going to take my knife and get all those beautiful kernels off. All right, so here's my 2 cups of grilled corn. Now remember, you can use the Trader Joe's version for this. Just defrost it before you are going to use it. All right, I am starting off with the yellow cornmeal, half a cup, 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, half a teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of kosher salt or sea salt, 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper, handful of parsley chopped, a half a cup of milk, using cashew milk, and we're going to pull this together here. Now I'm going to put this pan on the grill to warm up while I do this. So in goes all of my dry ingredients here, not yet the corn, that's going to go in last. So all my powders, and also with the parsley, and I'm going to take just a whisk and whisk it all up together and mix everything. Okay, next, what do we have here? In goes the milk. And notice I'm not using eggs in this recipe. You don't really need eggs in this recipe, which is kind of nice. And then in goes the corn last. And now I'm just going to mix this all around. I'm just going to kind of fold them in. And here's where the fun happens. Now I have my mix. Let's go out to the grill. I've got about a tablespoon of olive oil in here in this cast iron pan. And once that heats up nicely, I'm going to put in 1/3 cup. This should serve about, I think this should make about 6. I think I ended up making about 5, so maybe I should have used a smaller cup. I'm just going to flatten them out, cook them each on 5 minutes each side, and I actually closed the grill up for this because my coals weren't very hot. Look at this. They came out absolutely marvelous. They held together fine, and they're very fun to eat. All right, so these really heat up well. Again, over 24 hours or so, you can reheat them, no problem. I'm going to cut my crunchy quesadilla up. Look at that goodness inside. Let's get ready for a taste test now. Very tasty.
Oh, wow.
Is that good? Awesome. How about the fritter? Tell me what you think about the fritter. Do those go well together?
Wow.
Thank you.